Hey folks, welcome to another edition of Fitness Friday Positives with Rachelle. Last time I highlighted the importance of recognizing how having an overly competitive spirit can sabotage your fitness journey and your life overall. And I know a couple years ago I shared a quick testimony essentially of my own perspective on being competitive and just as a child, played multiple sports and all of that. Was certainly highly competitive. But certainly something that changed my life, and it's something that certainly back in 2007 served to be the impetus for what I'm doing now. Is just recognizing the value that we all have strengths. That's actually a lesson that I learned at Northwestern when they paired us up in all these groups for these group projects, how we all have strengths, we all have weaknesses, but teamwork, working together is a winning combination. But for me personally, and that decision I made in 2007, won't go into it now, don't have time, but just for those folks, I made that I shared that example on a non-fitness Friday, but made the decision in 2007. I was actually in sales and medical sales at the time. Made a decision to stop competing. And that was actually one of the best decisions of my life because I see now that was a catalyst moving forward for me to be able to help people, to be able to freely, because when you're overly competitive, when you're overly, just everything is always, you got to win, you got to be the best. It's hard for you to be happy for other people, and it's hard for you to encourage, to sincerely encourage and challenge and cheer people on towards their own success. And so that was huge for me. That was huge for me. And I realize now, looking back, just how that was a big step in terms of, moving forward, pursuing my life purpose, to be able to help you, to sincerely help you and want the best for you. This isn't a competition, and so we'll go into this a little bit more next time, but I'm going to continue this conversation on self-image and how your self-image is impacted this time. And I'm actually not going to do a one episode drive-by episode as I had planned. I'm going to break this judgment and criticism aspect of self-image into two episodes. So I'm going to have one today and then one next time. So it's just a lot of information, a lot of content, but a huge problem for a lot of people. So I want to break it. Into two different episodes. So a sub theme that I want to have for this judgment and criticism sub series is what I'm calling it, sub episodes, is the realities of human nature. The realities of human nature. And folks, the reality of human nature is people are going to judge and people are going to criticize. Listen for a minute to Mama Rachelle. Mama Rachelle is telling you, despite what anyone may tell you, a reality of human nature is to judge and to criticize. I don't care where you are. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care what school you went to. I don't care what part of town you live in. That does not matter. I don't care what racial or ethnic background you are. People are going to judge and criticize you. So I think that the reality is, I think the more people understand that and just accept that fact, the happier we will be. Because so many people make lies, and then certainly this was something, an area of struggle for me, years ago. Like I told you, the confident, secure Rachelle that you see today, I'm still a work in progress, is certainly not the Rachelle of years ago. I was insecure, I wasn't confident, I feared criticism and judgment, and what are people going to say, and what are people going to think, and all of that. And so I have experienced tremendous growth in this area, and this is something that I'm really passionate about, is sharing with others and helping other people come to the same revelation of recognizing, yeah, people are going to judge you, people are going to criticize you, but guess what? You've got to live authentically, you've got to live your best life. And if perhaps you need to make a major decision in this particular case, you may need to change trainers or change group fitness instructors or change classes or change facilities. If you know in your heart that that's right and that's the decision that you need to make, don't let a fear of criticism or judgment or what are people going to say or what are your people in your group fitness class going to say when you tell them you're now going to the 2 o'clock class instead of the 11 a.m. class. Okay, whatever. And a lot of those people that are judging and criticizing you, to borrow from the vernacular, their own lives are a hot mess. So quite frankly, they're not in a position to judge you anyway. So you need to be able to act confidently, boldly, and just to have the assurance, the own self-assurance to know that you're doing what needs to be done. You're making decisions in life that need to be made to improve your life, to improve your family's life, whatever the case may be. Because the judgment and criticism, if you spend your life being a puppet for other people and just living this life, just fearful life of afraid of what are people going to say, you're going to just control your life and you're going to be miserable. So I just want to challenge you today. Accept the reality that no matter what you do, you can look at professional sports. Teams, okay, a team could be undefeated. All right, they're still going to have critics. You can look at the comments section on sports articles and see the coach is going to be criticized, players will be criticized, even if they've got a perfect season. All right, so it doesn't matter. And the same is true for me and you. We don't have to be professional athletes or celebrities to experience criticism. That's just the fact of life. And to break down this whole concept of why people judge and why people are critical, I've actually spent some time here in the last couple of weeks studying the work of Dr. Rick Hanson. And Dr. Rick Hanson is a world-renowned clinical psychologist, and he has done a lot of work around the concept of negativity bias. Negativity bias, in a nutshell, is human nature. Again, just human nature. Human beings in general have a tendency to focus on the negative more than the positive in life. So that is such a huge, when you really think about it, whether you're a general manager and you're wondering, why are my members always complaining? I never get anyone coming in saying so-and-so is doing a great job, or I like this facility, or, I'm so glad I'm a member here. Why are people always telling me this is wrong, I don't like this staff member, this person did this to me? All right, you got to recognize negativity bias relationally. Okay, focusing on what's wrong with the person, with your significant other, as opposed to focusing on what's right. All right, that is just a human condition that folks can certainly break out of. I'm known, and of course I say this humbly, but I'm known to be a very positive person, a very upbeat person. And I laugh because years ago when I was in sales, my colleagues would, and one of them actually told me this, would talk behind my back, like, don't call Rachelle to complain or anything like that, because she's going to come back with positivity and you're not going to want to hear it. And that is just certainly true, but I do have a positive outlook. But I just recognize, I learned a lot from studying this, Rick Hanson's work. This whole, why are people so negative? Why are people always complaining and always seeing the bad? But his work, and I challenge you to Google his name, take a look, read some of what he's written. He's written books, best-selling author, but just very insightful. When you think about judgment, you think about criticism. What is at the root of a lot of that? Just negativity. Just people just expressing, whether it's verbally, whether it's in written form, people expressing negativity. That all that is. So when you think that people is a general nature, people are predisposed to be negative, then you could take it one step further and say, based on that negativity, people are more predisposed to complain, to be judgmental, to criticize others, regardless of, like I said, who you are, what you do, whatever. Someone will always find something wrong with you. So if you spend your life, waste your life trying to be this perfect person and do everything perfectly, you're wasting your life, because perfection in human form does not exist, as I say all the time. So very, very, very important thing just to recognize, right? People just negative bent is to be negative, okay, and not positive. And I myself have to, and I'm very, just personally, I think if people know me, or even those who don't know me, I tend to be very guarded. And that's part of the reason why, is that especially in a gym situation, I don't want anybody rolling up in my face at 4:45 in the morning with negativity. I'm not having that. I shut stuff down. But just even any time of day, I'm just very quick to shut down negativity. But that's just me, and I just recognize that, I can't let other people's negativity, create this, negativity in my own life. It's just unacceptable. It's just not going to happen. But conversely, particularly for those of you in gym leadership roles, when you think about, or even non-leadership roles, you may be working with a personal trainer, right? You may be working with a fitness trainer. You may be working with a group fitness instructor, or you may be a general manager or an assistant manager, perhaps getting some coaching and development and some feedback from your boss, or any professional situation. We've got to recognize that anytime someone gives us feedback, sometimes it may be negative, and so the onus is upon us to make sure, is there some truth in this, or is this person just being mean, hateful, all of that, any of those negative adjectives that we could use to describe a person, or is this person sincere, that they truly have, is this my mentor telling me this? Is this someone, a seasoned veteran who is telling me this? Is this someone whose opinion that I respect? Is this someone whose background is admirable and worthy of telling me telling me this or giving me this feedback? Because you got to differentiate between the two, because feedback and coaching, particularly, leadership and leadership development, is what I do, very passionate about leadership. And so we've got to recognize, as leaders, particularly in developmental roles or in developmental situations, feedback is necessary. Feedback is necessary to our growth. Feedback is so necessary to us moving forward, advancing and growing, not only as human beings, but as just professionals, okay? And even in terms of our fitness. All right, if a fitness instructor is telling you, hey, your form is wrong, you need to do it this way, you're prone to injury because you've got bad form the way you're doing it now, Yes, that person may be criticizing you, but if there's truth to that and they have your best interest at heart and they're genuine and sincere, they're trying to help you. So I think it's important that we recognize that when we look at feedback, when we hear feedback, is the person really sincerely trying to help me? Do they have my best interest in mind when they're providing this feedback? Because it could be a facility, okay, facilities, and then when you hear feedback from members, again, good and bad, there's an old saying of listen to unhappy voices for ideas and listen to happy voices for encouragement. And so when you get feedback from members, particularly if you see patterns, if people are complaining about a certain thing or a certain aspect of your facility or certain staff member or certain staff members, you got to recognize there's some validity. There's probably, highly likely, there's some validity to that, and it needs to be heeded to and needs to be listened to. So it's very important to recognize the spirit with which someone is giving us the feedback. To recognize many times, hey, they're just trying to help you. Yes, are you going to have your Debbie Downers and your negative Teds and people like that? They're always negative and complaining and you never do anything right. Absolutely. But we've got to have the discernment to be able to separate the two. Recognize the good feedback, the sincere people from those who are just, doesn't matter what you do, it will never be right. It will never be good enough. All right. And so trying to waste time pleasing those people is an absolute, like I just said, a waste of time. So we've got to have discernment to be able to know the difference between the two. And feedback is so important. I don't care what level you are. I don't care who you are. And even when I look back, again, there's always lessons that I learned along my journey, not only my fitness journey, but my life journey. But one of the great lessons that I learned as a member of Powerhouse Gym and Novi, which I was there for 5 years before I left for Planet Fitness in June of 2017, was William Davish, who was the founder, really the co-founder, but his brother, the co-founder, passed away in 2005. But William Davish and Mr. Davish was very, very big on feedback. Very, very big on feedback. And I know he was one of my Facebook fans, for a long time, and would listen to feedback. And as you've noticed, and that's one thing, you watch Fitness Fridays, Rachelle's going to tell the truth. Rachelle is going to tell the truth. And Rachelle is, I'm always, from a positive perspective, people know, and when it comes to my feedback, people tend to put a lot of weight on my feedback and what I have to say. Because I am positive. So there's this thinking of, and I've heard it from professors, I've heard it from coworkers and bosses, if Rachelle says something's a problem, then it's really a problem because she's so positive. And I think back to, Mr. Davish and just the wonderful changes that he made at that particular facility and stuff when I was there. But I know at times when he was listening to Fitness Fridays, hearing, criticism of the gym itself, Novi, Powerhouse Gym in Novi, which he bought, the former Fusion Fitness, listening to that feedback as well as just industry feedback in terms of how, your powerhouse gyms and those gyms, world gyms, gold gyms, with all due respect, gold gyms, the Gold, Joe Gold, considered to be the founder of the modern day fitness chain in 1965, founded Gold's Gym. But those gyms have experienced very, very slow growth. And in fact, they're losing a lot of their franchisees. And anyway, you've got your folks like your Anytime Fitness, your Planet Fitness, your Crunch Fitness that are moving right on up and have replaced those in many respects in terms of number of facilities and prominence and brand awareness. And so to hear that type of feedback, and I will always look back now on that part of my journey and respect him for that. His willingness to hear me constantly talk about other gyms, because that's just what I do. I can't focus on one gym. I can't focus on one chain. I just can't do that. I've got to operate up here, like I said, and not down here focusing at the micro level. I've got to operate up here at the macro level. But I'll always respect him for just, just being able to listen to that feedback and recognizing, my feedback is sincere. I mean it with good intentions. There's a lot of great things I certainly said, but there were some times when, the feedback wasn't always great. All right. But I will always respect him for that, making the necessary changes and recognizing like, oh my goodness, if Rachelle is sitting there saying this about my gym on Fitness Friday, I really need to take a look at the situation. But even as a founder of the franchise, having that type of humility and being open to feedback. All right. And it wasn't just me. He was open to feedback from other members and all of that. So as a founder at his level up here, co-founded the franchise in 1975, he was very, very open to feedback. And I think that's something that we can all learn, lessons regardless of who we are and what level we are. The feedback, particularly from those who are trying to help us and those who are in a position to actually speak and give some feedback. Genuine feedback is certainly so valuable. Lessons for all of us. And so folks, as I as I mentioned last time, I wanted to share some quick tips here, actually some pointers here, as I've highlighted this Weight Watchers magazine that someone gave me, and I love this. I actually love this magazine. Somebody else subscribes to it, but I get the secondhand copy because I like to read, as I stated last time. Read these for information. Read these for feedback so I can understand the struggle of how people are dealing with weight challenges or trying to lose weight, or those who are struggling on their fitness journey. That's obviously a weakness or a blind spot of mine, and so that's something I work on by studying and by reading this and learning as much as I can about folks who struggle on this journey, so I can speak with integrity and credibility to you all. But going back to this body image survey that I highlighted last time, I wanted to focus here on this criticism and judgment aspect that I've been highlighting this time. Got a few quick facts. It says, do you find yourself judging other people's appearance? 64% of respondents said yes, 36% said no. Next, have you been treated unfairly or discriminated against because of how you look? 55% said no, 45% said yes. And so when we think about that, and lastly, how often do you feel others judge you because of the way you look? 53% said rarely or mostly never. All right, so any number above 0 clearly shows that people judge. And again, this was just respondents of how people felt. People criticized or judged them or reacted to them based on their appearance. All right, it'd be interesting to see the folks who actually judged, to do another type of study in terms of judgment and how people judge other people. I'm sure you'd see very similar numbers or actually higher numbers than that, because it's the reality of human nature to criticize and to judge. Another good example that I have here, actually from Sports Illustrated. Yes, I actually subscribe myself to Sports Illustrated, but this was a double issue, September 24th to October 1st. And very quickly here, this article was about Russell Wilson and just some of the struggles of the Seattle Seahawks of the NFL. Remember, they won a championship a few years ago, but this talked about this feedback and, again, criticism, sensitivity to criticism. There's just so much that goes around this whole topic. And I just want to point out 3 quick points here from this article, and I think they really speak to this whole aspect of judgment and criticism. All right, it says, one former Seahawk said he and a handful of teammates speculated that Carroll, who's a coach, Pete Carroll, thought Russell Wilson's the quarterback, was too emotionally fragile to handle criticism. That forced Carroll into a difficult choice, the coach now, to side with players raised in the ruthless, hyper-competitive environment he fostered, or with the franchise quarterback that he found in the 3rd round. He chose the quarterback the former player says. Carroll realized Russ couldn't handle being part of the dynamic we had. Okay, skipping on down, all these accusations spoke to the same theme, that Wilson was treated differently than his teammates, and in some instances willingly stood apart from them. So this whole article talked about just that whole dynamic of essentially they were arguing that Pete Carroll, the coach, was favoring the quarterback, and because he had a fragile ego and couldn't handle criticism, so many other players were criticized, while they watched this one player who made mistakes and who had issues was never criticized. And so I challenge you, particularly from a leadership perspective, or even as parents, just even a human being in general. That's why I go on and on many times about being objective, about being fair, of recognizing we're all human beings, we all have opportunities to grow and learn, and feedback is important to all of our growth. And so it's important that we be open, regardless of who we are, if we're a leader, if we're not a leader. We've got to be open to feedback. We've got to be open to learning and opportunities to grow, because guess what? When you're not, other people that are in that situation that may be directly involved or indirectly involved, they're sitting around, they're watching that dynamic, they're becoming resentful, they're becoming hostile, and actually in that particular case, you have players leave and go to other teams. And so you end up losing people who sense that favoritism. Well, so-and-so can only hear that they're perfect and they never do anything wrong, or even as parents. Okay, the ability to correct your children and say, hey, Johnny made a mistake, and I can't sit here and say, well, every time I correct Johnny, he cries, so I'm never going to tell him he does anything wrong. You're setting Johnny up to fail in life, because we're all going to be judged and criticized, and we're all going to get feedback, but that's what helps us to become better people, to learn and to grow. And folks, as I move towards the end here of this episode, I want to highlight, as I mentioned, a PF adventure that I had to Chicago, Illinois in late September. Was actually in Chicago, back on campus for a two-day leadership symposium, alumni leadership symposium that they sponsor. The university sponsors, our alumni association, bring us back to campus, those of us who have leadership roles and very active in our respective cities around the world. So had a great opportunity. I actually got an Airbnb and so stayed actually in Chicago instead of Evanston this time. I want to read the feedback that I sent here very quickly to this particular club. It says, hello, I had the opportunity to work out at your gym on September 28th and 29th, 2018, while in town for a Northwestern Alumni Leadership Symposium. I had an enjoyable experience, and I'm so glad I got an Airbnb by the Belmont Blue Line train. First, the safety zone around all of your weight and cardio machines was exemplary. My mouth literally dropped open when I walked in the first day and saw it. Your layout is excellent, and I simply loved your stretching area with the sectional mats. Moreover, in regard to your staff, the young man at the front desk on Friday was very attentive, even while busy helping members. He told me about your club's salon and other amenities. I was impressed and shocked, in parentheses, to see that you offer free haircuts with Black Card memberships. I also noticed the TVs only had local news. Kudos. Much like Lifetime Fitness, is a tough call to make that decision. But I have no doubt the environment inside your club is much better as a result. It was also cool to see Novi-Michigan on your TVs as well. I also like the Pt.7 machine location right in the center of the gym. The extra TRX machine nearby, coupled with at least 20 medicine balls, was great to see. Wow. Kudos also for placing a battle rope around the Pt.7 to enable members to have the ability to constantly pull it in a circular motion to build strength. When I came in on Saturday, Joel was friendly and attentive as well. On my way out, he was cleaning the massage chairs. I was almost to the door when I heard him say, "Have a great day, ma'am." He had to have either run or walk extremely fast to have caught up with me. I know your members appreciate the attentiveness. Finally, thanks for the hospitality and enjoyable work experience. As you know, Chicago is an uber competitive fitness market, and you all are doing a good job holding your own. Thanks again. Folks, and I could do 5 episodes on my PF adventure to this particular club, but I want to close out this episode by making a broader point on the value of attentiveness, that one of the points, something that you hear me talk about over and over again in these episodes, and why that's important. But folks, remarkable gym. Absolutely remarkable gyms. As you heard me read, Chicago is one of the top fitness markets in the world, and this gym is doing a fantastic job of holding their own. I mean, from a franchise perspective, when I saw that layout, when I saw those safety zones, particularly from a Planet Fitness perspective, when I saw the safety zones at this particular club, which safety zones, just very quick, to break down the jargon, is just a space around the machines. All right, when I saw the cardio areas and as well as the weight machine areas, but from a Planet Fitness perspective, when I saw the safety zones around the treadmills, my mouth I could not believe it, and from not just Planet, but any franchise, to see that layout with the safety zones. I mean, my mouth literally, I was thinking to myself, my mouth fell open. I'm thinking, you've got to be kidding me. And Chicago's super competitive, and of course, part of that, and then just the whole gym environment, extremely competitive. And there's something that you'll see on some of their Google reviews, is that I have a very high fitness level in terms of being able to attract members who are highly fit, who would potentially be members of other gyms. And so that shows that, again, just demonstrates that competitive spirit, but just the ability, and you heard me read there, not showing cable news, they only show local news. Lifetime Fitness made that decision after actually, 2 or 3 months after the 2016 election, just knowing that there was going to be drama and debates and arguments and all of that. Lifetime Fitness shut it down on their main TVs. All right, now they've still got cardio machines with the actual individual TVs on there, but for a franchisee to make that kind of decision, which I agree, particularly in a market like Chicago, a very, very wise decision. It takes a lot of confidence to be able to do that, because there could be the pushback. Lifetime Fitness had their complaints, people saying, "Oh, this isn't right," and whatever, this and that. But this particular franchisee, clearly, looking at that layout to see how it differed from any other Planet that I'd been to, and just the competitiveness and recognizing the market that you're in. You can't do things like everyone else does them. All right, so just a very, very excellent example of tailoring to your local market. Also, so like I mentioned, Univision was actually on a couple of the TVs for the Hispanic population, and I also want to give a quick shout out to the Oklahoma City 59th Street location of Planet Fitness that I went to on a PF adventure in late August, because they had Telemundo, which is the competitive station, Spanish language station. So knowing your market, great example. But I could go on, and what really just did me in is they've got a salon inside the gym, and Black Card members get free haircuts. And when I was signing in for the hydro massage before I left, and I saw that salon and I saw that list that had the names on it, and I just thought to myself, that's what I'm talking about. If you're gonna do it, do it. That's something I always say. If you're going to do it, do it. So just seeing that competitive zeal and recognizing, giving haircuts, having a salon in your facility, you see that in Lifetime Fitness. So you can just see this particular facility was very, very viable in terms of going head to head, take away a lot of these other amenities like a pool and a sauna and all of that. But the actual gym itself and the equipment itself could go head to head with any gym in the nation, from Gold's to Lifetime to LA Fitness to Anytime to other franchises. But just a great example and just a wonderful example of knowing your market and recognizing, hey, you're in Chicago. People got a whole lot of other options. If you're going to do it, do it. And so I've got to leave that there with that particular episode, with this particular PF Adventures. I want to close this episode out. It's something that you always hear me mention. And this isn't just true for Planet Fitness. This is true for all businesses in general. All right, just the importance of attentiveness. Why is Rachelle on all these episodes talking about somebody greeting her? Or this particular guy, as I mentioned in Chicago, he had to be either running or walking extremely fast to catch up with me as I was leaving the gym. All right, to say goodbye, ma'am, thank you, have a nice day. All right, why am I always pointing that out on these episodes? A couple of reasons. Number one, I'm always doing these type of feedbacks, the Planet Fitness member surveys that are available on each individual club's website. All right, one of the criteria or one of the key performance indicators or metrics of customer service that Planet has is this question. Do you receive a hello/goodbye upon entering / exiting the club? All right, the answers are always, often, rarely, and never. All right, so this is a key criteria in terms of, from a customer service perspective, what the folks at corporate at Planet Fitness want to know, how folks are doing, how these clubs are doing, how attentive are they when prospective members are coming in as well as exiting the club. And there's a lot of research behind that, but a fascinating article just in any industry, saying hello to people, acknowledging people. That keeps people coming back. And I'm going to close out with this particular article here that was in Club Industry Magazine. Anthony Dominic, who's a content producer, I've actually quoted a number of articles of his this year, August 11th. All right, and it talked about this whole aspect of attentiveness. I'm going to read a couple of paragraphs, 2 or 3 paragraphs here. 64% of health club operators believe customer engagement is crucial to the success of their businesses, with email, social media, and face-to-face interaction being the 3 most popular ways to create that engagement, according to a new global survey. The Customer Engagement Academy, CEA, the research arm of member engagement software provider TRP in Bath, England, recently issued its member engagement in the Global Health and Fitness Industry Survey Report 2018. In April 2018, CEA surveyed industry professionals across the globe, including those working at commercial, nonprofit, boutique, and university facilities. More than 80% of respondents were in a managerial position or above. All right, here's the big part. Almost 90%, so again, some research finding, folks, pay attention, take some notes. Almost 90% of members appreciate it when staff members at their club engage with them, something that 83% of the surveyed clubs said they do. The most commonly cited channels of engagement were social media and face-to-face engagement from reception staff, both cited by 86% of surveyed clubs, the report found. Here it is, folks, the golden nugget. Members who are never spoken to cancel at a rate of 2.8 times higher, equating to an extra 21 canceled membership each month for every 1,000 members, the report stated. So bottom line, why is Rachelle always talking about how someone greets me, this and that? Why do I always bring this up? Yes, it's a performance metric of Planet Fitness. And again, I like to share these lessons, these examples, these best practices from Planet, because there's a top-ranked franchise according to the 2017 and 2018 Club Industry Magazine rankings. So I'm sharing these best practices because Planet's very successful and has the most number of members, all right, in another ranking. So it's important that you greet your members, you acknowledge your members when they're coming in, when they're exiting. These are some of the things that help to keep your folks loyal, help to keep your members coming back, help to keep your members in terms of retention. All right, remember, the statistic I always cite, costs 5 times as much to acquire a new member than it does to keep an existing member. So these are just small little tips and things I like to share with you. Yes, we've talked about criticism. Yes, we've talked about judgment. We're going to talk about it next time. But I wanted to close this episode out with this helpful tidbit. All right, people are always wondering, well, what can I do to get more members? What can I do do I need to increase my marketing budget? Or I can't afford to increase my marketing budget. I have low brand awareness. No one knows who I am. All right, having staff members Something as simple as greeting members who are exiting the club and entering the club, that's your marketing. Because when people feel acknowledged, when people feel welcome, when people feel that they're important and they matter and all of that, then they're going on your social media and giving you, positive Facebook reviews, positive Google reviews, and Yelp reviews, saying this staff is so friendly, they always greet people, whatever this and that, they know my name, whatever the case may be. That, folks, especially in 2018 and beyond, the social media aspect is so important to your marketing efforts. Let your members do the talking and the selling and the marketing for you. That's far more effective and certainly far more credible and believable by prospective new members. And so, folks, that's it for today. I look forward, like I said, to continuing this conversation, part 2, on the realities of human nature, looking at judgment and criticism with more specific examples on this whole struggle. But, folks, recognize you're human. You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. Just keep on being the best that you can be. Keep on doing the best that you can do. And I assure you, that's good enough. So until next time, folks, remember, I am positively passionate about your fitness.